Hey everyone, Sam Ovens here and welcome to week 6 of the Cash Flow Consulting program on how to scale your consulting business to 6 figures and beyond. So here's a quick overview of how this video is going to work. So I'm going to start off by mentioning the only 3 ways to grow a business. So it's real simple, there's only 3 ways. Then I'm going to talk about building a machine and feeding it volume, outsourcing and systemizing, and why I believe that it's a big myth, and then why and when to outsource and systemize, the 3 levels of scale, and then we're going to go into depth about the 3 levels of scale that you will go through when growing your consulting business. So it's not an overnight thing, it takes a long time to scale up. You can grow fast, but you're not going to grow into $1 million company in 30 days because there's processes and people and things that need to be in place, and that's why I'm going to break it down for you into 3 levels of scale, and then I'm going to bring it all together at the end, show you how to go through week 6. So there's a lot of content in week 6. I can imagine a lot of people are going to get very overwhelmed, so if you're watching this video, this is the ideal place to start. Please watch this video from start to finish before jumping into the other videos, because this is going to frame week 6 perfectly for you. So the only 3 ways to grow a business. People get all crazy and caught up in entrepreneurship and in business and in consulting. They start thinking about their video intros or their logo or their website design or their business cards. They get caught up in these tiny little pieces of the business, and they think that those are little tactics that are going to help them to grow. But in reality, there's only 3 ways to grow a business, and here they are. The first one is more customers, and these are all obvious, but these are the only 3 ways to grow, and a lot of people get confused sometimes. The first one is more customers, and by that we mean volume. So more sales made, more people buying our services. The second one is higher prices. So that means, instead of charging $5,000 for a website, charge $10,000. Instead of charging $1,500 per month for a retainer, charge $3,000. How you do that? Well, with practice, with more confidence, and with more experience. So as you get more clients, as your skills get better, as your results for your clients get better, you should look at hiring your prices. That is one way to make more money and grow your business. The third way to grow is to increase the frequency of purchase. So if we're just selling websites on a one-off sort of sale, the money comes, $5,000, and then that customer's gone. We don't get a second amount of money from that customer. So increased frequency of purchase is number 3, and we do that through retainers. So if you want to nail all 3 in our consulting business, it's putting more volume through the pipeline, that gets us more customers, increasing our prices, that comes with confidence and time, and increasing our frequency of purchase, which is by selling retainers to our customers as well. Now, everything else out there is just noise. This is how you grow a consulting business. This is how you actually grow any business. And anything else out there is just noise. And in this week, I'm going to tell you a lot of different things about how to automate and systemize your business. But automating and systemizing doesn't actually make you more money. All it does is free time in your schedule so that you can do more of the items above. If you systemize and outsource the market intelligence process and the follow-up process and the packaging process of the lumpy mail packages, that means that you can pump more volume through the pipeline, and that you can do more video critiques, do more consultations, do more proposals, and close more deals. It enables you to increase your volume. That's what automation does. So please don't get caught up in thinking that automation and systemizing and all that sort of stuff makes you more money, because it doesn't. If you go out and you systemize the hell out of your business, if you systemize every single thing there is to possibly systemize in your business, but you don't increase the volume, well, you're actually going to make less money, because it takes it costs money to systemize things and to create processes, and it takes a lot of your time. And if you do all of that, and you might think you're a genius for systemizing everything, so if you go out there and you systemize all those things, you're in for a loss. Systemizing and automating is only to free time to do more volume. That's it. There are only 3 ways to grow a business. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is making your business a machine. So stop thinking about it like it's this complex creature. Stop thinking about like this consulting thing is out of complicated, confusing, all of that stuff. It's just a string of processes all tied together that provides value to people that need it, and delivers you money back. It delivers you a return on investment. That's all a business is. A business is somebody wanting a better life for themselves, so they seek problems other people have, solve those problems for them in exchange for money, and they get back a return. And that's all it is. And how you do that is you string together a bunch of processes, or you create a product or whatever. And it's really just, it's just a machine. It's just a simple thing. And, here is how our consulting business looks as a business or as a machine. So here's our process. We send lumpy mail packages out. Then we follow up, and then we do consultations. And then at the end of our consultations, we offer a proposal. We send out proposals. And then some people like our proposals and they buy, and those are deals. So what we do is we have a process that's all stringed together that works. I mean, it's worked for myself, it's worked for tons of other people in this program. This process works. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to put enough volume through it and create the process for yourself. Put enough volume through it. Make sure that you're converting from the lumpy mail stage to the deal stage, and make sure that your conversion points are at least on par, if not better than our conversion benchmarks, which I've displayed here. Once you have hit those benchmarks, or once you're on par with those benchmarks, or once you've grown beyond those benchmarks, forget about improving everything and just pump some volume through it. Just think of your business as a machine like this. Once you build your funnel and you test it and you get it all working fine, all you do is pump volume through it and customers come out. And you want to keep an eye on your funnel to make sure your conversion points are all holding together well. Then the game is just all about volume. You just want to pump volume through. And all the tactics I'm going to teach you in week 6 are pretty much to do with systemizing and automating your funnel so that it takes up less of your time, and so that you can put more volume through it. That's how you scale. If you come to me and you ask me, how have I grown my business so big? Well, it's because I've kept things the same and I've just focused a whole bunch on volume. So, we're constantly hitting the phone, we're constantly sending things out in the mail. We've got consultations happening pretty much every single day. We're always asking for referrals. We're always doing this stuff. We're not doing any ninja stuff, nothing crazy, just the stuff I've outlaid in this course. Doing market intelligence, building hit lists, sending lumpy mail, following up on the phone, getting consults, sending proposals, closing deals. The only difference between me and you is that I've done a lot of volume, thousands of volume. So it's volume and time that's the only difference. Now, here's what I want to talk about outsourcing and systemizing being a bit of a myth. So the world loves these hot topics of outsourcing and systemizing. It's like a frenzy for entrepreneurs over these two things, because they think if they systemize the fuck out of everything in their business that they're going to make a lot of money. And that's bullshit. It doesn't. Systemizing your business doesn't do anything. It just frees up time. But what good is time if you're not actually using that time to do marketing and sales? Well, it's useless. And then the systemizing job in the first place was useless. So systemizing is just a way to free time so that you can do more marketing and sales. That is it. These things don't make you money. They free time so that you can do more high impact stuff. And high impact stuff in our business, in our consulting business, is video critiques, consultations, proposals, and closing deals. Like I said, the main value points in our machine. Now, you never want to outsource and systemize until you actually need it. So don't go out and outsource things and systemize it just to keep you busy. You know, don't do it until you feel the pain and you believe that, you know, you can't, your time's being taken away from marketing and sales because there's so much, there's such a need for you to do these small tasks. So why and when to outsource? You want to outsource when doing low impact tasks takes up so much time that it hurts your business and takes you away from the high impact activities. So high impact stuff is video critiques, consults, proposals, closing deals, the stuff that we count as volume. Low impact stuff, while it is still very important, is intelligence and list building, packaging lumpy mail packages, following up, etc. So when we start out, we do all of these things. But when you get your volume up, maybe it's towards 100 packages a month. I'm not sure where you'll start to feel it. Everyone's a bit different, but I'm guessing around 100 packages per month. You'll start to feel a bit of pressure. You'll start to feel that you could do a better job on video critiques, consults, proposals, and closing, or you could do more volume. You could step it up from 100 to 200 if you outsourced these other things like list building, packaging lumpy mail packages, etc. That's when you want to outsource. If you're only sending 10 a month, well, don't worry about outsourcing because you can easily do that yourself and it's a waste of money. But if you're really starting to push it, that's when you want to look at outsourcing. Now there's 3 levels of scale that I'm going to talk to you about. And what I want to say up front is that scaling a business requires bulletproof systems and processes. This sort of stuff can't be applied today and it can't be applied tomorrow and you won't, have a massive business overnight. It takes you can get your first client quick. You can get up to sort of 5 to 10 grand a month quick. But to build these sorts of systems and this sort of, and scale up to $1 million a year, we're talking about a lot of stuff there's a lot of layers that need to be built in your business so that things don't break. So another thing is, this doesn't happen overnight. You have to start small, build one layer, then build another layer, and then build another layer, and keep growing like that. You can't shortcut and jump from level 1 to level 4. So level 1 is where everyone should be at right now in CFC, and that's do it yourself. So right now everyone, I'm imagining, is doing everything themselves, except for obviously the fulfillment part, which is what we outsource from day one, which is the coding, website development, SEO, AdWords management, etc., etc. So we should do everything ourselves except for that, which is what we call fulfillment. And you should be able to scale up to at least 5 grand a month doing everything yourself. I've put 5 grand as a prudent number here. I really believe that you could scale up to 10 grand a month doing everything yourself. But I've put that there as a prudent number. So once you get to 5 grand a month, you want to start looking at outsourcing some of the lower impact tasks. And this is where you move to level 2, which is what everyone should be aiming at right now. And here you should be making at least 5 grand a month, but more like 10 grand a month. And you're looking to ramp up. You're looking to make even more. So you want to start outsourcing the low impact tasks. But it is so important that you outsource each one at a time and you give each one a lot of attention and don't rush it. Otherwise this whole thing is going to collapse later, believe me. So you want to start by outsourcing the following pieces of your business in this particular order. So I think, it's up to you at the end of the day, but I would recommend doing it in this particular order. Once you're at 5 to 10k a month and you're looking to outsource something to free up time to improve volume, I'd outsource first lumpy mail packages. Then once you've outsourced lumpy mail packages and you've got somebody hired and doing a kick-ass job on that, then I would look at outsourcing market intelligence and list building. Once you've got that nailed, outsourcing follow-up calls. Once you've got that done, outsourcing project management. And in week 6, which is this week, I have created videos for every single one of these things. So I'll have a quick look at inside the content portal right now. So here is week 6, and we're in the overview, scaling overview, which is here. So first thing to look at, I've put them in order. It would be outsourcing lumpy mail packages, followed by outsourcing market intelligence and list building, then outsourcing follow-up calls, then hiring a project manager to oversee fulfillment, and then hiring, this is where we get into this next step. So I'm going to jump into this next step right now. So once you've outsourced those low impact tasks, then it is time to move to level 3. And at level 3, you should be making at least 30 grand a month. And this is when you're getting towards that $500,000 mark, and you're looking to hit the 1 million mark. Now you're probably thinking, why the hell are you telling me about this stuff now? I'm still trying to get my first deal, or I've only landed my first deal, or I've only got 3 deals. Everyone will sort of be within one of those places. But I made this course to cover everything from starting from scratch all the way through to having a 6-figure business and being able to scale it up beyond that. So I want to create this content for you in week 6 in advance of when you'll actually need it. So a lot of people won't need this sort of information on how to scale to level 3, which is hiring sales reps, when you should only be looking at this when you're doing 30 grand a month. But I wanted to create this content for you so that as you grow your business, you can look at this and really scale it up. So with that being said, at this point you've built a successful machine and you are the operator. You've got the machine dialed in. You've got you've got contractors helping you with market intelligence, sending the lumpy mail packages, making the follow-up calls, and also managing the project management. You've got people in all of those places, and the business is humming along. You're making about 30 grand a month, and you are the person sort of operating the machine. The tasks you will be doing will be video critiques, consultations, proposals, and closing deals. So that's what you're doing here still, but everything else is outsourced, and you're looking to step up to the next level. That's when you want to start looking at hiring sales reps. So this is when you're making at least 30k a month, you're getting close to that $500,000 mark, and you want to be able to crack the million. That's when you alone with a bunch of contractors isn't enough. That's when you need to start looking at hiring sales reps. And that's where things get serious. And I know a lot of people won't need this, but I have created a big video on how to hire, train, and manage sales reps so that you can really scale up your consulting business and get towards the $1 million mark. So beyond that, I've also created another couple of videos. One on how to spot other opportunities, which is really good, and also solid business practices, which is kind of boring, but these things are often, seriously, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs and everyone overlooks these things, and they will be the demise of any business owner if they're not looked after carefully. So this one's definitely worth a look as well. So that's an overview of week 6 on scaling. Like I said, the only way to scale a business is 3 things. 1, more customers. 2, increased price. Or 3, increased frequency of purchase. Now, the only way, if we apply that over to our consulting business, it pretty much always comes down to volume. So, to charge more, you need to get more experience, and you're not going to get more experience without volume. So forget part 2 of how to scale a business. And increased frequency of purchase is retainers, and you're generally not going to be able to sell a ton of retainers until you've got a little bit of experience, and you've also retainers sort of come every so many website deals. So you might do 1 in every 3 website deals might also give you the opportunity to sell a retainer. So, I mean, the common denominator of scale for our consulting business is one thing: volume. And in week 6, I show you how that you should set up your business. Think of it as a machine. Make sure that you're on par with our conversion benchmarks. And then when you are, just make the game all about volume. And when you're struggling to squeeze the volume out of your business, that is when you outsource the low impact activities to give yourself more time so that you can ramp up the volume. And I've given you instructions on how to outsource pretty much every single part of your business, all the way up to the $1 million mark. And that really is it for how to scale. I mean, there's no ninja tactics. There's no there's no mystery. I mean, all it really is volume, and volume is achieved through other people and systemizing things. And that really is as simple as it gets. So that's it for this overview video for week 6. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, Sam Evans here. In this quick video I'm going to show you how to go about outsourcing the construction of your lumpy mail packages. So I'm not going to sell you as to why you need to outsource every different thing. I mean, I talked about that in the overview video and in the video about outsourcing market intelligence and list building. Over these next few videos I'm just going to jump straight into the process because I don't want to repeat myself again and again as to why we need to outsource these things. But just very quickly, we want to outsource this so that our time is spent only on the high impact activities, which are video critiques and consultations and proposals and closing deals. That's where our time should be spent. Everything else should be outsourced and systemized. So with that being said, here's the process that I've used and that I recommend you can use to outsource the construction of your lumpy mail packages. Now, it doesn't need to be exactly the same as this. Everyone does things a little bit differently, but here's one way to do it. So here's the steps from 1 to 10. So you're going to start by getting your leads for the week. Now, you might do this yourself, or you might have a contractor that does your market intelligence and leads for you and sends them over to you. Once you've got your leads, you plot them on your calendar for the week, and then you create your video critiques. So you go through one by one, create all your video critiques, and then step 2 is you upload the video critiques to YouTube as a private thing, then create the landing page, and then then you create an Excel file of the people to mail. So this Excel file contains first name, last name, mailing address, company name, the type of lumpy mail template you're going to use, and a link to the Dropbox link for the screenshot or the photo of the ad. Now, then you send that over to your contractor that's going to create the lumpy mail packages. And then when that person gets that list, 1 day per week, or maybe it's every day, depends what the volume that you're doing is. When that contractor gets that list, they take the photos and the screenshots from the Excel file or the Dropbox folder, and they go one by one, and they take that photo and put it inside your lumpy mail template. So as you ramp up the volume a lot and you start splitting out the roles, it gets too cumbersome to have torn out ads and things like that. So what I like to do is have photos and screenshots. So someone snaps a photo of the ad using their smartphone, or they scan it using a scanner, or they take a screenshot on their computer, save it, and then they get into the lumpy mail template and then embed that photo in the lumpy mail template on the front page in Microsoft Word. And then they personalize the lumpy mail template with the person's first name, last name, company details, etc. And then they print out the lumpy mail template with the personalized ad on the front and the prospect's details. And then they download the video from YouTube. So when you sent them the list, you sent them the list to all the different YouTube videos, all the different landing pages, it doesn't matter. The contractor goes to that video on YouTube and then downloads it from YouTube using a
website called convert.cc. It's convert.cc. They download it from YouTube and then they burn it to a CD. Now, why download it from YouTube? Well, this saves you having to send over all of the raw files, which is a huge number of files. If there's 100 videos and they're all 100 megs each, then you're sending a big file, or a big combined total of files. So it's better just to send them the links and let them download it using convert.cc and then burn it to a disk. And then once they've done that, they put together the lumpy mail package. So the trash can, the letter, and then the burnt CD, etc. And then once they've done that for all of the different prospects, they go to the post shop and then send the lumpy mail packages. Now, once they've sent the lumpy mail packages, they get the tracking numbers for each one and then add those to the Excel file that you sent them, and then save the Excel file and send it back to you so that you can track each one. And the contractor also scans the receipt and emails it to you as confirmation. So what I like to do is pay this person an amount that's up front, which is for sending the lumpy mail packages. So I calculate, all right, we're going to have to send 100 at $10 each. Here's $1,100, and that's a $100 buffer. And then I pay them on top of that, so I give them a budget to send these things. Now, hiring for the role, I strongly recommend having different contractors for all these different disciplines, because it just gets too confusing if you have someone doing market intelligence and the lumpy mail. I like to separate them out. Even if they're both small part-time jobs, I like to have the people separate and just very specialized and awesome at just that one thing. I've found that to be good. Separating roles. I don't like all-rounders. And then, so I recommend hiring different people. I recommend hiring locally again. So English speaking, very fluent in English. Make sure they have, what's the word I always like to use for hiring people? Initiative. Initiative is the word. So, if there's a problem, they don't just stop, close down ship, and then, wait for your response. They've got initiative, so they can, solve the problem themselves and keep going. They also need to be local so that they can access your local postage network. If you're outsourcing the creation of this to India and they're producing them in India and then they're sending them back to the US, well, the cost's going to be much higher for obvious reasons. So they, locally is best. Now, compensating these people, we should compensate them in between 10 and 20 US dollars per hour. And they should complete, when they're good at things, which might take a month to do, they should complete 4 per hour, which is 15 minutes each. When they're first starting, be lenient. For their first package, it might take them 30 minutes. Be lenient at first, but then, after a month, they should be producing 4 per hour. Now, these people need to be, they need to have a decent computer. If their computer and internet sucks, then downloading the YouTube videos, burning the videos to the CDs, just dealing with anything is going to suck. So make sure they have a decent computer and a decent connection to the internet. Also make sure that they have a decent CD burner and a printer. If they don't, printers and CD burners are so cheap these days that you could probably just buy them a cheap printer and a CD burner, an external one that plugs in via USB, and let them do it. You can put that on your company and then send them the things and they can do it. You don't really want to buy someone a computer. You want to make sure they've got a decent computer and they've got a decent connection to the internet, and they're quite savvy with things like this. So young students make an awesome, like I said, marketing students make an awesome hire for these particular roles because they're savvy with Dropbox. They're used to it. They're savvy with Word because they've used it for projects. They're savvy with printing. They're savvy with everything. And these are the sorts of people you want. Now, if they don't have the hardware necessary, you can buy it for them, or they can come and do it at your place if you don't mind. If you're happy with that, they can come over to your place, do it, and then use your equipment and send it. Now, you want to create a process map, like I said in the first video, for this as well. You also want to create a YouTube video showing someone step by step of how to put together lumpy mail packages.
And another thing is you always want to monitor these sorts of people. So what I always do is I always put a dummy address in the lists. So I do this all the time. I always put a dummy address in every list I send anyone. And the address is to me. So I change the name a lot of the times. So a lot of the time I'll change the name. So instead of calling it like Bob Jones, I might call it like Derek something. I always change the name, and I always change the company name. And I always change the critique a bit. And then but I always put the same address. And why I do that is so I can see, what's going on. I can basically do quality control, and I recommend you do the same. You always throw in a dummy one in there so that you can see if it actually gets sent, and you can see the quality of the work being done. So that's it for how to outsource the creation of lumpy mail packages. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, Sam Ovens here, and welcome to this week 6 video on outsourcing market intelligence and list building. So first up, a little overview. So why outsource market intelligence and list building? We're going to cover that first. Then we're going to go into the process, step by step, exactly how you can outsource market intelligence and list building. And then to wrap it all up, I'm going to give you some important notes and cover some mistakes that you definitely want to avoid. So why do you want to outsource market intelligence and list building? Well, as I'm sure you know from doing it yourself, that this process takes a long time. I mean, it's something that's never going to go away. You're always going to need market intelligence. You're always going to need a list to market to, and you can never stop doing this. Every single week, this has to happen, and it has to keep happening as long as you're in business. I mean, I'm still doing it today. I mean, it never stops. And it takes a long time, and after a while it gets really boring. And when things start to get boring like that and tedious, most entrepreneurs will stop doing them or neglect the task or not do it enough. And when that happens, and the whole rest, it's going to slow up the rest of your business. So this job and process requires consistency and an analytical personality / mind. So someone that's not an entrepreneur most of the time. So entrepreneurs aren't consistent, they're not analytical, and that's just not how they're built. So that's why this is a really important job to get outsourced, because you need it inside your business, and you need it to be consistent. And most of the time entrepreneurs are not. And automating this process allows you to ramp up the volume in your business. So like I've said throughout this course, it's all about building your funnel from market intelligence to list building to sending out the lumpy mail to following up on the phone, through to sending out through to getting a meeting, then sending a proposal, following up, closing the deal, and then delivering on the deal. That's the process, that's the funnel. And we've got benchmarks for all of that. So once you get your business up to the benchmark that I've shown you in some of the previous weeks, then you don't want to improve your funnel any further. You don't want to add any new steps to your funnel. You don't want to try and improve your conversions in your funnel any further. The game just becomes all about volume, and volume is the number of people pumped through that funnel. And outsourcing and completely automating market intelligence and list building allows you to really ramp up the volume, because you're always going to have lots of leads coming in, lots of market intelligence. And to be honest, your time is better spent doing consultations, proposals, and closing deals. So the most profitable area to spend your time in as a consultant is doing the consultations and putting together the proposals and then closing the deals. That's what you should be doing. That's what your time should be spent doing. Everything else we should outsource to other people. I understand that when you start a business, like this, you have to do everything yourself, but
in this week is all about scaling, and so I'm going to talk about the things that we should outsource and in what particular order. So the process, let's talk about the process. So step one is you have to do it yourself and document a process. So you must do market intelligence and list building yourself before you can successfully outsource it. And you want to do it for ideally 1 to 3 months. If you haven't even done market intelligence or list building for 1 month and you try and outsource it, I can pretty much guarantee you that it's going to fall over and it's going to be a big failure. You have to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself first, and ideally for 1 to 3 months. 1 month at the absolute minimum. Now as you do it, you want to find out what sources work well for you. So you might have good luck with TV or radio, Yellow Pages, Google AdWords, maybe it's a particular competitor. I'm not sure what it is. I've given you throughout this course tons of different ways that you can collect market intelligence, and I said try it out in your particular market, see what works well for you. Well, find out what works well for you and then select 3 or 4 key media types, and that's what you're going to want to stick to. And you can just ignore the rest. You don't need to know about, you don't need to have everything, you just need 3 or 4 good ones that work for you. Now, as you've been doing this yourself, and you've done it for a month at least, and you've found out what sources work well for you, you want to write down instructions so that somebody else could pick up the instructions and do it themselves. Now, the best way to see if instructions are good is that if a complete stranger could pick them up and do the exact same job you do without even talking to you. That's when you've documented a process well. So that's what you want to do. Now, once you think you've got the process completely nailed, you want to create a 1-page checklist. So this is just 1 page. You can type it up in Microsoft Word or something so that somebody else can follow your instructions, and then when they're done, they can check that they've ticked all the boxes and all the necessary steps are done. This is very important. It stops people from saying something's done when they've missed a couple of things. That's why a completion checklist is really good. Now, once you've done that, once you've documented the process, found out what sources work well for you, created a document, you've got the 1-page checklist, the last thing you want to do is create a screen recording video. So you just want to pull up your screen and show the person how you use your Excel market intelligence list. So you say, we upload all of these photos in here, we copy paste this, we rank a website based on these things, create a screen recording video of you talking and navigating your mouse on your screen, and then save that video and upload it as a private video on YouTube. Now you've got like a full package for doing market intelligence and list building that you can hand off to somebody else. So I like to call it a process document. You can save it as a PDF, and inside it there's detailed instructions on how to do the job. There's a checklist to make sure that the job's complete, and there's a video explaining exactly how to do it. And this is what you brief your new contractor with when you hire them, and it's something that they can refer back to at any time to if they're having trouble, so they don't always need to come to you. So here is a look, or here's a quick look at what your process document should look like. So everyone's going to have their own individual ones, but here's a quick idea of what it might look like. So step 1 might be to make sure that they are receiving all the necessary media. So if you're doing radio, TV, Yellow Pages, and a couple of newspapers, you want to make sure that that person is receiving all of those things. So they might need to subscribe to the newspaper. You might need to give them the Yellow Pages. They might need to listen to the radio or record it or something. Make sure that they're receiving all the necessary media. Step 2 would be every Friday, this can be any day by the way, I've just written Friday here. So every Friday that person would do their job. So it might be a 1 day a week thing. Now what they'd do on that Friday is go through all of the media, find ads according to your criteria, and then take photographs of the ads or screenshots if they're online digital ads, and then upload all the photos to Dropbox in a folder called October Week 1 or similar. So I like to label Dropbox by just having Market Intelligence as one folder, and then inside Market Intelligence have October, November, December, and then the year obviously, so October 2000 and whatever, and then inside there split it into 4 weeks, because this person works once a week, and call it October week 1, October week 2, October week 3, October week 4, and then it's the next month. And that's how I organize Dropbox. Then they upload all the photos of the ads into that folder, and then they go through each ad one by one and complete the intelligent spreadsheet that I've shared with you in the earlier weeks of this course. And then include a link to the Dropbox image in the cell labeled advertisement copy. So in Dropbox, you can just right click on something and get the link, and then paste that link into your market intelligence sheet. This way, you've got a copy of all of your ads. You don't need to tear them out and keep physical copies. You can, have photograph copies and have it all in your market intelligence list. This is a really awesome thing to do. It's not essential, but as you get bigger and you need to start having more better processes and everything, this is a really cool thing to do. Now after that, they should save the intelligence sheet and then upload it into the same Dropbox folder in which they put all of the images. And then once they've done that, they should email you with a confirmation that the job is complete, as well as notes on how the process could be improved. It's always cool to ask them, how do you think this could be improved? How do you think this could be improved? Because you want to work with them to make it easier and faster and a better process. Now after you've done that, you've documented your process and done it yourself, you need to hire somebody. And I recommend that you hire somebody local, and that you don't do this cheap. This is a very important part of your business. So first point, do not be cheap and send this to India for $2. This is not the sort of thing you want to outsource for really cheap. Don't try and save money here. This job might only be 4 or 5 hours a week, and it's so important. So market intelligence and list building is an extremely important part of your business, and you want somebody local and reliable. The person needs to be local so they can understand the culture and the language of the advertisement so that they can grade it appropriately. Now let's think, if you've got someone going through ads and they're in India and English isn't even a language they're very good with, and they're trying to grade ads, well, they don't even know the culture. They have no idea about the Western world and how advertising works and all that sort of stuff. It's going to be so hard for them to do, and the job's going to be very low quality. You need someone to be local, someone that's been in the culture. So watching ads, buying things, being hit by this sort of media, so they understand it and it's just normal to them. And you also want someone very good with English. So I recommend marketing students from university. These guys make ideal candidates for this role, and they understand marketing a little, and they also understand business a little, and they're very fluent in English. So to hire one of these people, see if your local market, by local market I mean your state, city, whatever, has a student job board. Otherwise, email a local university and say you're looking for somebody to hire, and they might be able to send an email out for you, and you might be able to find someone. And you want to compensate this person in between $10 and $20 US per hour. Like I said, you don't want to be really cheap. You want to have someone good. Step 2, traits this person should have. So when you're hiring this person, what sort of traits should they have? Well, they should have excellent English skills. They should be local. They should be close to you. They should have a basic understanding of marketing and business. Uni students are ideal for this. And they need to be reliable and consistent. This is the most important. You need them to be consistently going through all the media, doing your market intelligence list and updating it and sending it to you so that you can send out lumpy mail, because you need to keep doing this in your business. You don't want a single week off. You want to keep getting lumpy mail out the door, because that's what builds pipeline, deal flow in your business. And you want someone that's going to be able to stick to this for at least 6 months, because you don't want to churn these people over too often, because turnover of staff costs you time, because you need to hire someone and train them again. You want to make sure that they can stick to at least 6 months. Now, after you've done this yourself for a full month at least, documented a really good process, and then hired somebody local to do this, for the first month, here's how you're going to want to sort of indoctrinate them into your business. So for the first month, you want to work hand in hand with this person. Don't just give them the documents and expect them to do it. you can do that, but the results you'll get will be terrible. So for the first week, you want to do the job yourself and make them watch you and take notes. So don't let them do it. You do it yourself and walk them through it step by step, exactly how you do it. And you also want to give them the process document, walk them through that, and then show them the checklist and the how-to video. Then on the second week, you do it together. So you kind of split the load half-half, and do it together and make sure they're going good with the job. Then on the third week, you want to let them do it alone, and you watch, make sure they're doing good, make sure they're copying the checklist process map. And then after that month, they should be good to go at it alone, and they can just work from home and keep receiving the things in the mail, like the newspapers and whatnot. You pay for the subscriptions for these, by the way. So those arrive at your student's house. They go through all the stuff, complete the market intelligence sheet, update the Dropbox folder, send you an email, and they can work sort of completely invisible from you, but that's how it works. So some important notes: you must do this process yourself first. So if you try and outsource this and you haven't done it yourself, I can pretty much guarantee you that this is going to fall over and it's going to be a big failure. So first of all, don't do that. What I've learned with contractors and employees and things like that is, especially when you're hiring them down at the lower scale, like students, and you're only offering 10 to 20 bucks an hour, you must make this as simple as like working at McDonald's. So it needs to have like a process document. When people work at McDonald's, they're able to get away with such cheap employees because it's just a step-by-step process. There's a way to do everything there, and it's documented, and there's no room for innovation. There's no room for changing anything. It's just follow this step by step. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You want to make sure it's like that. You must give them a checklist to complete so they can check their own work. So once they think they've finished the job, they should have a checklist to go through to make sure that they've finished it. This way, they don't see new stuff and then you don't email them back and say, what about this, what about this, what about this? Then do not outsource to people in foreign countries. Let's say you have someone working for $20 an hour and they're working 5 hours a week. That is $100 a week. That's $400 per month. If you outsource that to somebody else, you might save $300. But what good is that when you might get 0 deals? Whereas if you have someone good doing it and they get you, they're going to do the job a lot better, and you're going to get 4 deals. What's the difference between that? Well, it's tens of thousands. That's why you don't. When you're trying to cut costs in your business, make sure you cut them from the right places. Don't try and cut costs on something like this. This is the foundation on which all of your marketing is built. It doesn't matter how good your follow-up skills are, how good your contractors are, how good your proposal is, how good your consultation skills are, how good anything is, how good your lumpy mail is, your video critique. None of that matters if the people you're sending it to are shit. And that's why you need to make sure that this process in your business is done well and done by somebody with some skill. So you do not want to outsource to foreign countries. You want to pay these people well. You want to look after them, and if your business takes off and this becomes a big thing, this person could become your future full-time employee. Always think like that. And that is it for how to outsource market intelligence and list building. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, Sam Ovens here, and welcome to this week 6 video on outsourcing your follow-up calls. So, outsourcing follow-up calls, the person is so important. I mean, you can probably tell from doing follow-up calls yourself that it just wreaks havoc with your emotions. So as soon as you go to dial the phone, you start to feel scared. You don't want to do it. You procrastinate. All those sorts of things. Well, the same thing's going to happen to other people when you hire them to do it. So that's why hiring the right person is so important. So when you're trying to hire the right person, you want somebody who is like a bubbly friend. You want somebody who has a bubbly, friendly personality and a good phone manner. You also want somebody that can handle rejection and is reliable and will follow instructions. And that almost sounds impossible, but believe me, it is possible. It's just hard to find, and that's why it's hard to find, the right person to do anything in a business. And that's why a lot of, when businesses talk about growing, one of the problems they often say, one of the biggest problems they say is finding the right people. And you've got to look hard and you've got to invest time in finding the right people. So with that being said, you do want somebody bubbly and friendly. You want somebody who's local, so they know the market well and they can make small chat if need be. So let's say you outsource your follow-up calls to somebody in India. Well, they don't know the local market. They're not going to be able to make small chat. They're just going to follow the script because English is their second language. Their accent's going to be all off. It's going to be horrible. The whole thing's just going to fall over. You cannot outsource follow-up calls to other countries. And if you can, I don't know how to do it and I don't recommend it. But I do recommend keeping your follow-up contractors local. Now, preferably you want to hire someone that's done either telemarketing or secretary work in the past where the phone was a big part of the role. So, the good news is there's a lot of telemarketing places out there, and there's a lot of people who have done secretary work and they've just been on the phone all day for like 10 hours a day before, and they have absolutely no problem with it. They've tried to do surveys to people at dinner time, and that's extremely hard to do. That's harder than doing follow-up calls. So you want to find someone that's done that sort of thing. Someone that's, like I always say when hiring, you want to find somebody that's done a harder job than this before. So when it comes to making follow-up calls, if someone's been a telemarketer before and tried to do, credit card surveys to families at dinner time, then, they're going to make awesome people to follow up because they're used to rejection and they just have to have thick skin. And in my experience with people making follow-up calls and setting appointments, girls work much better than guys. I don't know what it is, but a friendly, bubbly, personality, a girl that's making calls like that kind of disarms the the gatekeeper and disarms the guy on the other end of the phone, and they're much more likely to get appointments booked. That's just my experience. And in my experience, people with English accents work really well. So like UK accents, a London sort of accent. I first learned about this, I knew this guy that ran a sales team here, and he had one guy that was the top of his sales team. He had a UK accent, and he wondered if that had anything to do with it. And then he got his top producing rep to see if he had any other friends. And he got another friend with a UK accent, and it worked really well. I don't know what it is about it. It's something that just disarms people. And I mean, this is just a little hack here. I mean, if you're interviewing someone and they do have an English accent, that's a bonus. You might want to hire them, but don't go out looking just for someone with an English accent. That might be a bit too much. But I just thought I'd throw in that little hack there. But in my experience, a girl with a bubbly, friendly personality, who has good phone manner, very clear English, is able to make small chat if need be, and has done a harder job in the past before, like telemarketing or secretary work. So that's the sort of person you want. Now, when you're hiring this person, you want to post a paid job ad on a website like monster.com or Craigslist, and you want to spend money to promote the ad, and you also want to write a very high quality ad. Spend about an hour writing it, really sell the position. You want to look for somebody with past experience. You want to offer around $20 to $30 per hour when hiring someone for this job. You don't want to go cheap on this job. I mean, you've already invested in the market intelligence, you've already invested in sending out the lumpy mail. Now it's coming, there's already money invested. You don't want to hinder that investment by, having a poor job done at this stage. Now, another thing is never hire anybody before testing them first. So what you want to do is say, hey, look, if you think you've found the right person, say, hey, look, I think you'd be ideal for the job, but what I want to do is a 2-week trial with you first, just to see how things go. And of course, pay them for the trial and see how they go. And if they go really well, then hire them and keep them going. Now, you might not get this right for 2 to 3 goes, because like I said earlier, these people are hard to find. And this is just normal. I mean, finding the right people is a hard job. And you've just got to embrace that. There's no other way around it. Everyone else has to do it. It's completely normal. So, be willing to invest the time in finding the right people. Now, another cool thing is to get them to use a high quality headset and use Skype with Skype call recorder. So when you're on the phone, the clarity of the conversation is extremely important. You want to buy your person a headset, a noise cancelling headset. This way the voice is crystal clear and there won't be any background noise. Don't make these calls from your cell phone. And Skype is very good. Skype's it's very cheap, and you can buy a local number for about $5 a month, so that when they're calling prospects, it'll show up with a local number. And you can also use a product called Skype Call Recorder so that you can record the calls. Now, what you want to do is make it mandatory that all of the calls are recorded. And then once the recording's done, you want the person to post that recording to Dropbox. And what you want to do is listen to all of their calls and give them feedback to improve. So this is hiring and training. Now, let's look at the process. I mean, everyone's process can be different, but here is the process I would recommend using when running, systemizing or automating this particular part of your business. So your follow-up person should work 1 week behind the lumpy mail person, i.e. there should be a 1 week delay between when lumpy mail packages are sent and when the follow-up person starts calling. So about 1 week. Might take 2 to 3 days for the piece to arrive, and then we give them a few more days to let it sit on their desk or read it or whatnot. If they don't respond within 1 week, then it comes through to this person. So then after that, you give the person the list who were mailed last week, and then for 1 to 2 hours a day for 2 to 3 days per week, they should work to make the follow-up calls. So let me give you an example. So let's say you hire someone to do this for you, and you're going to pay them 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. You might want to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So 3 days per week, 2 hours per day. Now, during those 2 hours, the person will make all the calls and they will log all the notes. It's best to spread it out across the week instead of just doing 1 day, because if they just do follow-up calls in a day and the person's not in the office, then they're kind of screwed until the next week. So it's better to spread them out 1 to 2 hours per day for 2 to 3 days per week. Now, they should use noise cancelling headset, Skype with a local number, so I've covered this. They should write notes in the CRM. So I've taught you how to use Pipedrive. So when they should go into Pipedrive, and once they've made the follow-up call, they should write notes. And then inside the note, they should copy-paste the Dropbox link with the call recording every time they make the call. So that inside your CRM, you'll have, below a person that's been lumpy mailed, you'll have all the recordings for all the calls and notes. This is a very good practice. They should use a follow-up schedule to make sure that they try to call each prospect you mail at least 7 times, preferably 10 to 12. So they should have an Excel spreadsheet that they use where they are able to check off how many times they've called each person, and they should switch in between the Excel spreadsheet and Pipedrive to make sure that every single prospect that is mailed a lumpy mail package is touched at least 7 times, but more like 10 to 12 times before giving up. So you really want to give each prospect a good go, and then you should be able to log into your CRM and see that everyone was called at least 12 times with notes. And then if they can't make contact after 7 to 12 times, then they can forget about that prospect and they'll just mark them as lost in the CRM. So that's the follow-up process. Now, some important notes. Finding the right person to do anything, especially follow-up calls, takes time. To find someone to do good follow-up calls, they need to have initiative, they need to be good at handling rejection, they need to be good on the phone, they need to have a bubbly, friendly sort of personality, they need to be reliable, they need to be organized. It's hard to find those things, but they do exist and you will be able to find them. So it takes time. I can't stress how important it is to hire locally and pay well. These people are important, you want them local, and you want to pay well. I highly recommend hiring a girl with a bubbly personality and a good phone manner. This honestly seems to get more appointments. And I don't really know why this is, but it actually works. And if you're going to hire anyone, I would definitely recommend hiring a girl over a guy to make the follow-up calls. Now, another thing is you want to track everything and get them to record the calls. So like I said, they should get a list of calls to make. They should make sure everyone's called in between 7 and 12 times. They should take notes after every single call in the CRM, and they should record every single call and then upload it to Dropbox and then copy paste the link into those notes inside there. It's a big process, but honestly, in my experience from having staff, if you don't watch them and if you don't put systems in place to measure and track everything, then they will slack off and then they'll lie about it. So if people will just stop making the calls, or they might only make one call and say that they called 12 times, and they'll just lie about it to you because it's easy to do. There's no real way for you to find out, and people just naturally will follow the path of least resistance. It's just what happens. So the best way to do it is don't give them any room to do anything like that. The second one call isn't recorded, one note isn't made, and you want to give people warnings, and if someone can't stick to the rules like that, then you've just got to let them go. Sticking to rules when you're trying to grow a business is so important, because it only takes, if everyone had an attitude like, oh, I'll just get away with it this time, then the whole business is going to become diseased. So it's very important that everyone follows the systems, records everything, and does it. Even though it's tedious, you need to make it the way you do business. So that's it for how to hire and train and manage people to make your follow-up calls for you. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, Sam Ovens here, and welcome to this week 6 video on how to hire a project manager. So a quick overview. First up, when you want to look at hiring a project manager and why, then what roles they should do, how to hire the right person, how to train project managers, and then how to manage project managers. So when to hire a project manager and why? Well, you want to look at hiring a project manager when you're making $20,000 to $30,000 plus per month, and when you're really starting to feel the pain of the fulfillment pipeline. When fulfillment is getting out of hand and you believe it could be somebody else's full-time job to manage the contractors and the relationships with the clients. At that time, it's time to hire a project manager. And if ever there's a mouse in the salad,
you definitely need a project manager. And what I mean by this is, if ever the services you start to deliver start to fall apart, there's problems with them, clients are dissatisfied and things like that, it means that you're probably growing too fast and you need to start hiring other people to help you deal with the workload. So that's when you want to start looking at hiring a project manager. And you can absolutely do it yourself, but at a certain point in time you will have to hire somebody else. Now, what roles should they do? Well, once you've sold somebody, so let's say you're the sales rep, once you've sold somebody, you introduce them to the project manager and they take it from there. So right now in our consulting businesses, we do everything. Once we've made the sale, then we turn into the project manager and we start getting all the things, all the assets we need off the client, collecting them all, and then starting to brief the contractors and things like that. Well, when we have a project manager, we'd make the sale and then introduce the client to the project manager, and he will be the main point of contact from there on in. It's basically a project manager is in charge of fulfillment. They're the person between the client and your outsourced contractors. So they are the point of contact for the client, and they are the point of contact for the team of outsourced contractors. They get necessary items from the client, brief contractors, oversee the project, and make sure that it's delivered on time and on budget and to a high standard. Like I said, no mice in the salad. So how to hire the right person? Again, hiring the right person takes time. Don't rush the step. You want to post a paid job ad on a website like Monster.com or Craigslist and pay in between 30 and 40 grand for this role. So not as high as we're sort of wanting to pay for sales, because this is more of a robotic sort of job. And a bonus is if somebody knows a bit about web design and coding, because a lot of the time, we need to jump in and add a piece of JavaScript here or fix something here, or it is a real bonus if they have a little bit of knowledge about web design and coding, but it's not mandatory. And you want somebody that knows a bit about online marketing. It's going to be a real job if they don't know anything about autoresponders or opt-ins or anything like that. You want someone that knows a bit about online marketing, maybe knows a little bit about front-end development, and is very organized, willing to work from between 30 and 40 grand a year and manage projects for you. So that's essentially who we're looking to hire here. Now, how to train them. It's almost the same as hiring sales staff. It's almost, with hiring anyone, it's always quite similar. You've got it's a lengthy process, and whenever you rush a hire, it always backfires, and you end up paying for it later. So make sure that you dedicate time to hiring each person in your business and do it one at a time. So it's almost impossible to do if you haven't done it yourself first. And what you want to do is interview a guy, and if he looks good, start him with a 1-week boot camp where you run him through every single nut and bolt of your business, so he understands everything. You also want to make sure he understands everything about digital marketing, from websites, headlines, copywriting, calls to action, autoresponders, retargeting, AdWords, SEO, all the good stuff that we know about. He wants to be an expert on all of those things. Next, you want to make him shadow you for 2 weeks, watching you every single day as you work, take him to the meetings and stuff, start to introduce him to the clients. And then you want to let him do everything by himself. Once he's on a roll, you're good to let him run. So how to manage a project manager. Again, I've had almost no luck having mobile project managers. I've had pretty much no luck having mobile anything except for contractors like SEO people, AdWords people, web design people, maybe people that do the market intelligence and things like that. But when it comes to full-time roles, I've had no luck unless they're in the office. So sales reps, project managers, like to have them by my side, because if I like to talk 8 a.m. in the morning, 12 p.m. in the middle of the day, and then 5 p.m. at night. 3 checks a day, every single day. So I like to have them local, and I like to have them working with me. There's a reason why big companies have everyone together, because you sort of get like a team effect, and everyone sort of motivates everyone, and it's really awesome having everyone together. Now, the second point is they must use a project management software religiously. So you've got to, when you start to grow your business bigger, you've got to think, well, what happens if my guy gets sick? How are we going to work? So that, and believe me, that sort of stuff does happen. It happens a lot as you start to grow bigger. Big corporations will always have hundreds of people sick on any given day because they've got so many employees. And they've got to make sure they've got systems in place so that their company doesn't fall apart when those things happen. So use a project management software religiously. I like to use teamwork.com. Now, regular meetings are important, so I like to have 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. meetings with them to check in on all projects. At 8 a.m. in the morning, I go through one by one every single one of our clients. So, ABC Plumbing, what's happening with them? And I, write notes. XYZ, fencing company, what's happening with them? Run through all of your clients, first thing in the morning and then at the end of the day. Keep on top of everyone inside your business. Ask them what they're going to do today at 8 a.m. Then at 5 p.m. ask them what they've done. Always check, always measure, always take notes, and structure your company in a way where you don't give anybody room to slack off. That's the best way to do it. Always keep on top of your staff. Most of the time, if they slack off and don't do their job, it's your fault. This is a tough lesson to learn as a manager. So one thing I've learned as a manager, a lot of the time, you always blame the staff, but a lot of the time it's actually your fault, because people are pretty much like children. They need constant reminding. I used to think, well, maybe once a month was fine. It's not. Then I thought maybe once a week. It's not. Once a day? No. They need reminding 3 times a day. You got to repeat yourself again and again and again and again, like almost to the point. The best. I've read a lot of books on management, and you're not repeating yourself enough until people start to make jokes about you repeating yourself. That is when you know that you're repeating yourself the right amount. And you want to make sure that your messages are always consistent. You can't go changing your mind all the time. Make sure that what you're repeating is always the same. And a tip is to read the Rockefeller Habits book. This is an outstanding book on management. It's really good. Alright, so that's it on this quick video on how to hire, train and manage a project manager. Thank you for watching. So quick overview. First up, we're going to cover when you want to look at hiring sales staff and why, then what roles they should do, then how to hire the right person, how to train them, and then how to manage them after you've trained them. So, hiring your first sales rep is a big deal. I recommend not really doing it until you're making over 20 to 30k per month, because this person isn't really a contractor. This person is someone that works full time for you, and they're a huge part of your business, and it's so important to get it right. So this is going to be a bit more of an in-depth view than hiring the contractors, because this is more like looking at hiring an employee. So when to hire sales staff or why? Now, you want to look at hiring sales staff when you're making $20,000 to $30,000 per month plus. So this is not for people starting out, absolutely not. Week 6 is about scaling, and I know pretty much no one's really ready for this now, but I wanted to provide you with information on how to scale well past 6 figures,
And so I'm giving you this information in week 6, even though I know pretty much no one in the course is up to this point now. There's people from previous versions that are at this point, but no one in this current version is up to this now, but I'm going to cover it anyway. So good people are hard to find and expensive, so you need this cash flow to even try this. If you're starting out and you've never won a deal and you're looking at hiring a full-time salesperson, bad idea. Even if you've landed 5 deals, bad idea. When you're running consistent 20 to 30k plus per month, then this is something you might want to look at. So do not hire sales staff before you have got to this point. The whole thing will collapse. The ideal time to hire sales staff is when you have contractors doing the market intelligence, list building and lumpy mail and follow-up calls, and you're doing the video critiques, consultations, proposals and closing all the deals. So you've successfully outsourced all the lower impact stuff. You're still doing the high impact stuff, but this is time where you want to outsource the high impact stuff too. So you should be able to make it work well yourself first, and you should have it all systemized, and you should have it systemized and working down to the point where you believe that if you taught somebody else to do what you do, they would be able to do it. Often, if you can't believe that you can teach someone else how to do it, and you haven't systemized it down to that level, then you won't really have much success hiring somebody else to do it. Now, this sales hire will essentially replace you in your business. I want you to think of it as cloning yourself and your secret recipe. So what I mean about this is, once you get up to this point where you're making 20 to 30k per month, you know how to do it all. You know how to do the video critiques. You know how to do the consultations. You know how to do the proposals, and you know how to close the deals. Now, along the way, you will have learned systems and processes, and you'll have, you'll just kind of repeat the same thing. And that's what I mean by your secret recipe. So you're essentially, cloning yourself. You're hiring someone and teaching them exactly how to do what you do, and you're giving them the secret recipe too. So that's kind of what I mean by this. Now, what roles they should do. So they should replace you, and you at this point should be doing video critiques, consultations, proposals, following up after the proposals, and negotiating and closing the deals and getting people over the line. An important note, you should still use your contractors to do the low impact tasks like market intelligence and list building, lumpy mail packages and follow-up calls, because expensive specialized people should only operate in their prime zone to get maximum ROI. So what I mean by this is, if you're going to hire a sales rep, and they're really good at what they do, the last thing you want them doing is low impact stuff. So you should have already built the team of contractors that are doing the lower impact stuff, and then the sales rep should only operate in the high impact area, which is video critiques, consults, proposals, following up after proposals and closing deals. That's how you get the maximum bang for your buck with this. Now, there is no point giving an awesome sales rep market intelligence and lumpy mail construction, because that will take up a whole bunch of his time, and it's more expensive to hire a sales rep than it is to hire someone to do that stuff. So that's why we separate the roles, and that's why I'm a big fan of separating all the roles. I don't like generalists. I like to have people that are just good at one thing. So I like to have someone that just lives and breathes intelligence, someone that just lives and breathes follow-up, someone that just lives and breathes packaging some damn lumpy mail packages, and someone that lives and breathes doing the closing part. So how to hire the right person. Again, hiring the right person takes time, so don't rush this step. Now you want to post a paid job ad on a website like monster.com or Craigslist, and I recommend paying a base salary of $50,000 US with commission on top. So I know that sounds like a shitload of money for a lot of people, but honestly, when you're hiring salespeople and you want them to do a really good job like this, you need to pay for it. I've had zero luck hiring commission-only people. I've probably tried 7 commission-only type hires, and all of them have just fallen over flat on their face
and it's been a waste of time and money. The only time I've made sales work is when they're paid well and they're skilled people on commission. So I recommend setting targets at $10,000 a month in new business. So that's what the sales rep should bring in per month in new business. And I recommend paying them 10% as commission. So for example, you pay them a $50K base, and then if they hit, sell $10,000 worth in 1 month, then they will get a $1,000 bonus. If they sell 20, they'll get 2, and so forth. Now you want to find somebody with a sales background, preferably a background selling something really hard, like a daily deals sort of thing, like Groupon, or what's it called, the one overseas, Living Social or something like that, I forget what it is. So selling daily deals sorts of websites, or Reach Local, which is a type of AdWords thing, or Yellow Pages. If you can find someone that's sold those things and they've hit targets, they're going to fly in your business because our offer is better and easier to sell. So try and find someone from a company like that, and the traits they should have. I don't recommend finding someone that's never sold anything before. I recommend hiring someone with a background in selling, and preferably something that's harder than what we're selling. Now, there's 2 things that sales reps need, in my opinion, on top of a background selling something harder. So one is empathy. So empathy is like the ability to sort of read the unspoken word of somebody else. And what I mean by unspoken word is, if you're sitting in a room and you say something and they don't say anything back, you're still able to sort of read their body language and see what they mean. So this is really important to have in a sales rep. Now, there's some cool ways that I do to test these sorts of things. In an interview, one thing I like to do is start off the interview, kind of weird, and asking them sort of weird questions. Like, I ask them about their family and what their relationship with their, mum and dad is, and things like that. So really weird sort of questions. And what I can tell by this is that if someone sort of sits back in their chair and is kind of cagey and doesn't talk, then it generally means that their empathy isn't they don't have that much empathy. But if someone's able to sort of relate and have a conversation about that, they do have good empathy. Another thing I like to do is sit back in my chair, like right back in my chair at certain points when I'm talking to someone, and see if they will copy that and sort of adjust their tone and body language and everything to sort of match me. And then I might move forward and lean with my elbows on the desk and see if they sort of copy that too. That's another sign that someone has empathy. They're able to sort of meet you on your level and sort of bond with you without even really exchanging in conversation. So that's one thing they need. Another is the ability to handle rejection. Now this is a biggie. Now the best way to do this in the interview is after you've talked to this guy, you say, hey look, I've sat here with you for 30 minutes and we're looking for a sales superstar, and I've sat here with you for 30 minutes, I've read, I think I've heard everything you've got to say, and to be quite honest, I'm just not hearing sales superstar from you. I just don't think you're right for this job. And then just shut up and see what they do. If they go shy and coy and they sort of go, oh, well, I guess you would know, and get all disheartened, then they're not good at handling rejection. If they sort of listen to you and then go, well, what makes you say that? And they try to get the objections out of you, and then if they try to handle the objections and sort of sell their way out of that, then that's when you've found someone that's really good and someone that can handle the rejection and sell themselves. Now the best thing about this is it's catching them completely off guard. Most people say to someone, look, do you have empathy? And they'll go, yep. And then they're like, look, can you handle rejection? And they'll go, yep. And that doesn't mean shit. Like, the only way to do it is to catch them off their guard. It's to test empathy without them even knowing that you're doing that. And really good people can do this sort of stuff all the time. And they're doing it to you all the time. You don't even really know. Sometimes you can even do it like when you meet someone and you shake their hand, and if you hold their hand for about 3 seconds longer than normal and just look at what they do, you can read pretty much anything about the person. You know, there's really cool things you can do here. And you know, when you talk to someone about their family and their relationships and things like that, that tests empathy, and it gets them really relaxed and sort of settled, and then, you know, they feel like the thing's going well, and then you just reject them in the middle of it, and that's when, you know, you see their true colors and whether they're going to fight back. If you can find someone that has a background in selling something harder than what you're selling, like Reach Local, Yellow Pages, or Groupon, and they've got empathy and the ability to handle rejection, and if you've got you know, a proven process that works and you can show someone and train them, then, you know, this is how you make a lot of money doing this sort of thing. Alright, now once you've got one of these rare specimens, how to train them, so how to train sales staff. So this is almost impossible to do if you haven't done it yourself first. So, you know, this is becoming a almost boring and robotic theme between all of these videos. I say do it yourself first, create a system, and then, you know, get someone else to do it. Because, I mean, try and do it without doing it. Try and teach someone how to do something that you don't even know how to do. It's quite hard. Now, after the interview, if the guy looks good and you hire him, start with what I like to call a 1-week boot camp. So take 1 week off work and train him for 1 week. Go over every single nut and bolt about what your company, about you and your company and what it does, because a sales rep, before they can sell anything, they have to understand everything. They've got to know about the products, the services, you know, what makes the company unique. They've got to know about the competition, how to handle the objections. They've got to understand all of that stuff. So take a week off work, clear your schedule, you know, maybe rent out a meeting room somewhere, or, you know, do it at your house, whatever. But hold a 1 week sort of sales thing where you can just teach him everything there is to know. After that, you know, you want to make him shadow you for 2 weeks. So you're still doing the job full time, and then he watches you for 2 weeks, every single day as you work, and, you know, take him to the consultations, have him listen into the calls, everything. Next, you want to let him try to do things himself. And you want to help him out, so you've still got to be on standby for probably another 2 weeks, watching him, making sure everything's going good, and then once he's on a roll, yeah, you're good to let things run. Now, once you've got this running, I know it seems like a ton of work, but you're still not even done. You have to watch sales staff like a hawk every day, because, as I'm sure you've noticed yourself in doing this stuff, one day your motivation's up, one day your motivation's down, and, you know, it's like a constant roller coaster. The same is true when you have employees, especially in the discipline of sales. So I've had almost no luck having mobile sales teams. I believe that sales staff need to be in the office with you every single day. It's just too easy not to do it. It's too easy to watch TV, or, you know, go to sleep, or go outside, than it is to, you know, make sales. And the combination is like motivation, mindset, and consistency. That's what makes sales superstars. So what you want to do is never let your sales team go 1 day without a motivation session. So what I like to do is hold an 8 AM meeting where everyone's got their coffee, they come in and they go over exactly what will happen today. You know, make sure that they've plotted out how they're going to spend every hour for the day. They're excited, they're pumped up, you know, they believe in themselves, they believe in everything that they're doing, and everyone's gunning towards the same goal. Then everyone goes out, starts working, then meet back at 12. It's only a few hours later. You know, check in and see how everything's going. You know, practice handling some objections, you know, see what people are saying, make sure the motivation is high, then, you know, keep going, and then at 5, check in again and see how everything's gone and measure the success for the day. Honestly, what I've learned is that motivation dies so fast. You know, you probably noticed it yourself. You probably watch a video or you probably read a book or go to a seminar, maybe even do a course, and your motivation is just peaking. It's like off the charts, and then 2 weeks later it's just completely gone. You've forgotten about it. Well, the same thing happens with sales staff, and in fact we're not talking 2 weeks here. We're not even talking a week. We're not even talking a day. Motivation dies within about 3 hours. So that's why you need to hold 3 sessions a day to keep everyone on their game and motivated. So, no one should go for a stretch longer than 3 hours without a motivational session and check in to make sure that they're on the right track. Now, another thing is you want to continually invest in training. So send people to those Google courses so they can become Google certified, etc. It teaches them about online and all of that. There's other online courses. You want to invest in their training, buy them books and things like that. And note taking in CRM is mandatory. So this is like a disease of sales reps. If a sales rep still doesn't take notes after 3 warnings, give him an official warning, and if he still does it again, fire him. Sales reps who don't take notes and don't organize their CRM are a disease to your business. So, if you're wanting to grow a business, it's so important that everyone follows your processes. And it doesn't matter if they're amazing. And this is actually, one of the biggest problems. Sometimes people think they're amazing, and because they're making sales and whatnot, they think that they can get away with not writing notes in the CRM and recording calls and things like that. And don't let that happen. It's so important that your company runs according to systems, because honestly it will all fall apart. So important that everyone follows the systems. So make sure that your sales rep is consistently writing notes, recording calls, and updating everyone. Alright, well that's it for that's sales staff. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, Sam Evans here, and welcome to this week 6 video on how to spot other opportunities while you're running your consulting business. So a little bit of a story about how my consulting business all evolved, because this will teach you why you should always keep your eyes open and why you should always be looking for opportunity. So like I told you back in week 1 and video 1, in this 6-week course, I told you that I spotted this opportunity in the market. I spotted that local business owners needed help with their online marketing, and I thought that I could step in and provide a service to do this. I started out by just doing websites, so just websites for $1,500 to $2,000 to $3,000. And after I started to do that for a while, I saw that there was actually a need in the market for bigger businesses to do more involved websites that involved lead generation. So something with good copywriting, a piece of content bait, calls to action, and an opt-in for an autoresponder. And I figured that was the way to take my business from doing $1,500 to $3,000 per deal up to $10 to $15,000 per deal. So I had my eyes open. I spotted that opportunity. Then when I started dealing in that market, I saw opportunity for retainers, things like SEO, AdWords, and things like that. And so, I moved into that retainer sort of space and started selling, SEO and AdWords and things like that, packaged together as a recurring thing. And then, along the way, I've also spotted other opportunities. One of them was a recruitment company, so a sort of recruitment company over here, and they were putting ads in our local paper, the New Zealand Herald, and people would send their CVs over to somebody's email address, and this person had to work full-time
you know, their hourly rate was like $30 or $40 an hour, and this person was working full time and just organizing all this stuff in Excel, and it looked like a nightmare. And I started probing around, asking a couple of questions, and because I knew this company had money, and I knew, you know, that they liked to do things properly, and so I talked about the possibility of building a solution. And they, you know, they liked the idea of it, so they said, well, how much would it cost? So I went away, talked to some software developers overseas, and they said, oh, you know, we could probably build this for about $5,000 or $6,000. So I went back to them, to the guys, and I said, look, we could build this for you, and we could also manage it for you. And you know, I think the cost for us to manage it for you and build it for you, just look after the whole thing, you know, the cost would be about $3,000 per month. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, oh my God, that's so much money, but I knew how much pain this was for this recruitment company. They were, you know, they're doing a lot of stuff. You know, they're constantly running ads, they're constantly getting CVs, and they've got to filter them and do all that sort of stuff. So I ended up being able to sell it to them for $3,000 a month. I paid $6,000 up front to get it built. Now for it to be hosted, I only pay about $20 a month for it to be hosted. Pretty much runs, and that's pretty much $3,000 in net profit off that deal that just keeps ticking every single month, and that won't stop. And that company also pays me a retainer of about $3,000 to do their other stuff. So that one company, you know, I make $6,000 per month off. But the best part is the passive part, where I actually don't need to do anything, because, you know, I saw an opportunity for software. I started becoming curious, asking questions. Saw that they needed it. Said, would they be interested in a solution? Went away, priced it up, and instead of making the classic entrepreneur's mistake of thinking, oh, well, it will cost $5,000 to make, I'll sell it for 10, I could have made $5,000, but I prefer to sell things on a licensing sort of base. You know, I've been in business long enough, well, actually not that long, three or 4 years now, but still long enough to learn that one-off money isn't the best money. The best sort of money is recurring. That's why I sort of transitioned from websites into retainers, and that's also why when I sell anything, I'll try and make it a recurring sort of thing and sell it on a license base as opposed to a one-off purchase sort of base. I always think in terms of licensing instead of selling. Well, it's still selling, but, you know, them being able to purchase it outright and manage it themselves. And so that's how that worked. And I've done a couple other deals like that. Another one I can talk about just briefly is there's a supermarket company over here, very big, and they need to train new staff. They get new staff all the time, and what they were doing is creating PDFs. The training team would create PDFs, and then they would send them to people via email and print them out, and people would have these things. But every time they did a training, you know, the things would change, and so they had to redo the PDF and whatnot. So, you know, this is probably some of the easiest money I've ever made. This, what we decided to do was, well, I talked to them, saw that there was pain, asked if they'd be interested in a solution where the person could, you know, they could just upload it to a back end online, and then it would be available. It would be sent via email to everybody, and also it would be available on, you know, an iPad app and an iPhone app, so the person could browse on there. Very simple to do, technical wise. They said, yeah, they'd definitely be interested. I went away, talked to software developers, came back about $9,000 to build that product. Went back to them and said I could license it to them for $5,000 a month, and sign that one up as well. So, you know, just two passive products that are being sold on a monthly recurring revenue sort of basis, the one for the supermarkets and the one for the recruiting company. It's a total of, you know, $8,000 per month. That is almost $100,000. Is it? No, it's not $100,000. It's very close to $100,000 per year, just off like two things that run passively. And I honestly wouldn't spend any more than, I don't even think I'd spend 5 minutes a month running those two things, because they run very, you know, they're on autopilot. The profit margins are insanely high. All they pay for is hosting. And that's just two things that I kept my eyes open. I saw opportunity, and I went for it. I that's what you've got to do in entrepreneurship. In this course, I give you like a straight line. I say this is exactly what you should do, and you should do that, and you will get deals. I don't want you to reinvent the wheel with this consulting stuff. I want you to do exactly what I say, because it will work and it will get you deals. But what I am telling you here is I want you to keep your eyes open. I don't want you to limit your vision by only looking at websites and only looking at retainers. I want you to keep your eyes open and look for other pain that these business owners are having, and think about whether you could sell them stuff. So that is a quick story about all of that. And then, as I was doing all of this stuff, people started to ask me questions about how it was running and everything, and I found that people were very interested and loved the idea that I was using Lumpy Mail to get clients, and loved the idea of this whole consulting thing, and how quickly I'd grown the business. So when I saw that opportunity come up, I thought, well, I could probably create an information product and sell it to entrepreneurs on how to do this stuff. And so what I did is, took on 10 people, taught them how to do it. They had success with it. And so when they did, I created a bigger launch and sold it to even more people. And now this has become, quite a big successful business that's helped a lot of people. So, you've got to think about my story, where I started from. I saw one tiny little piece of opportunity. I saw, the ability to help a window tinting shop. This is going back to when I used to buy and sell used cars. I didn't have. This is when I was, starting out as an entrepreneur. I used to buy and sell used cars to make money. I always loved doing deals, and I went to my local window tinting shop, who tinted the windows of the car, because I could always sell the cars for more when the windows were tinted. And he was telling me about his website and whatnot, and I knew a little bit about websites, and I thought, well, I could probably sell him one, and I did for about $1,500 and started helping him. And that's where it all started, just in one business, actually completely offline. Actually, it wasn't even a business, it wasn't even registered, it was just all done by cash. And so this is going back to when I used to buy and sell cars. I spotted opportunity to build a guy a website for $1,500. I did it. Grew it up until I was selling websites for 10 to 15 grand, then moved into retainers, spotted the opportunity for all of these different platforms, also spotted the opportunity for Snap Inspect, grew that into a massive business, spotted the opportunity for information products, grew that into quite a big business. And, here we are today, and I think you get the moral of the story. You should always keep your eyes open, always be curious, always ask questions, and always be looking to provide solutions and charge decent money for it. That's how the world works. People have problems. If you help them with their problems, they're willing to, compensate you with money for doing so. And so I think you get my point. Now, a few specifics to always keeping your eyes open. So don't just think websites. The beauty of this consulting thing is that, the true advantage that you get over every single other entrepreneur out there on the planet is that they're all sitting in their bedrooms, clicking around, like looking for opportunity, but they don't get to see the opportunity that we see. We get to sit down with business owners behind closed doors of very profitable businesses. We get behind the scenes access. We get access to information and conversations that don't exist to the public, and that exposes us to a lot of opportunity, and that's why you guys have to keep your eyes open, and we've got it's a privilege to go behind the scenes of a business and hear about everything, because that's when you can look for people's pain. What you always want to do is look for people's pain. And there's tons of different things you can do. I'll name a few things that I've done other than those platforms. So the platform ones are, I'm quite proud of those, but they're not really scalable. You can't always find a platform to sell. I've only been able to find 2, but those are to me, those are some
that's some of the easiest money I've ever made. I mean, the average salary in New Zealand is $40,000 per year. Well, and they have to work 9 to 5 every single day to make that much money, and they only get 4 weeks per year leave to make 40 grand a year. Well, you know, I had 2 conversations, found 2 problems, built 2 products, and now per year I make $80,000, just, or more, actually more than that, about $96,000 per year profit just from licensing some bloody software to 2 companies. And you know, I don't have to do any work. At most, I might do, you know, 20 minutes per month, and that's the difference. That's the difference between, you know, being an employee and being a normal person, and then, you know, being an entrepreneur. There's honestly opportunity everywhere. So so I've talked about platforms. Now I'm going to talk about, you know, some other things that you can do. So you might find that one of your prospects or one of your clients needs a few services. Like they might need someone to receive photos. Okay, I'll give you some real life examples. People seem to like real life examples. So we've got a plumber client, and they're always taking photos of jobs they've completed and whatnot. And what they want to do is upload those photos to their blog and upload them to their Facebook thing, but they never get around to doing it. They also want to be able to reply to people on Facebook and social media, and you know, to you know, have someone basically look after their social media channel, as well as find the photos, edit them, make them look a bit nicer, and put them up. Well, you know, I said, well, we could probably do that for you. Gave them a fee, and you know, sold it to them on top of the other stuff we did. And of course, I made sure I had some margin. So you know, that's just one thing you can do. You can see if someone has a need, a bit of pain. You can bundle together some services and sell it to them on a recurring revenue basis. It's that easy. And another one which is really easy is that you might see somebody that needs a service. So you might go to a company and you might hear that they want to get a video done, like a video to go on the front page of their site. Well, what you should do is you should ask them a few questions, find out about, you know, what they really want. Go to a, you know, production company or go to a video company. Ask them, say you've got a client, you're representing a client, and you want to know how much it would cost, and you also want to know how much they would be willing to pay for a client like that if you were to refer them. Find out how much. If they say, you know, often you'll be amazed. Often people are willing to pay quite a lot of money to get a customer. I mean, think about it in cash flow consulting. If someone said, hey, I've got a 10 grand website deal for you, if I give it to you, will you give me $1,000? Well, yes, you would. And that's how it works out there. So, you know, I've done a lot of things like this. I've found someone that needs a video, found a vendor, and then said, how much would they give me? They said $1,000, and then I've connected the two and made my $1,000 just off making the connection. I've also done it different ways. When Snap and Spec needed an explainer video back in the day, the guy said the price was something like $5,000. So I referred a couple of people to him first, and then then he gave me a discount and he did the video for me for $2,000. So you can also, you know, keep your eyes open on how to, you know, spot pain, connect people together, get a discount for yourself, or, you know, get a finder's fee. That sort of thing's really, really, really easy to do. This next point, you might see that a particular industry is in desperate need of some software. Evaluate the opportunity and see if you can build it and then sell it to them. So, you know, if you're helping out, say, property management companies, and you found that they had, you know, a huge pain with this task-related problem to do with property inspections, you could do a bit of research, to see what the competition's like, and you know, you could have a go in that market. That's what I did with Snap Inspect, and that's been a successful opportunity. You know, my point with this video is that opportunity is everywhere, and you really do need to keep your eyes open. The best thing you can do is keep your eyes open, be curious, never be afraid to ask questions, and ask why. Always ask why. You know, I ask why so much that kind of freaks people out sometimes. But it's because I want to know. I'm curious, and that's a really good thing to be as an entrepreneur and a business owner, because it's how you find people's problems and how you're able to discover opportunity. Another cool thing, I haven't put it in as a point here, but another cool thing I've done, and I've only really done this recently, is whenever I need a service myself. So let me give you an example. Whenever, like, I wanted to buy some rugs for my apartment, so like some luxury rugs, Persian rugs. They're quite expensive things. They're like $5,000 each. And so when I wanted to buy some rugs for my apartment, I thought, I want to buy from the person who could potentially become one of my clients. You should always think like that. Whenever you need a service, buy from the person who you think could potentially become one of your clients. So I looked at the rugs market, found one that I thought was a good fit, then went out there, bought rugs. I bought 3 rugs, so I spent like $15,000 there, and I asked lots of questions and whatnot, and kind of planted the seed, and then called them up a month later and gave them some advice and whatnot that they should do, and started to build a relationship with them. And now that company is a client of mine, and they pay us $7,000 per month, although a portion of that is ad spend. Our profit on that is still very decent, and that's just another example of how to find opportunity. If you need something, look at all the vendors in the market that provide what you need, and then choose the one that could potentially become one of your clients, and then go in there as a customer and then start the relationship that way. Business owners are always going to listen to their customers. They love their customers, and you're kind of like a salesman in disguise when you're their customer. I'm not saying go out there and become a customer of every company, because you'd go bankrupt, and that's just not a way to get clients. But what I'm saying is, when you need something, when you're going to go out and buy something anyway, and you're just going to brush it off and never think about it, when you go out there to buy something that you're going to buy it from someone that could potentially become one of your clients, and start the relationship. I mean, I do that all the time. I found there's a company that delivers my wine. Of course, I chose they deliver wine, like expensive wine, on a subscription basis. I chose the one that I wanted, and they're a client. It didn't happen immediately, but the relationship started that way, and then they became a client. Even the locksmith. I mean, you're probably thinking this isn't even believable anymore, but I'm being completely serious. I needed to get some locks fitted to my office, and I called an emergency locksmith. And when I was looking at all the guys in Google AdWords, I purposely chose the guy that was spending the most money. I could tell by looking at all his ads and everything. And when he was out there, I started asking him questions, and started the relationship, and then he eventually became a client. It's like people have their salesman radars down when you're their customer. I mean, it's fucking genius if you think about it, because if you're someone's customer and you're using their services and you're paying them, their radar is, and their salesman sort of rejection things are all disabled, because you're not a salesman, you're their customer, and they love their customers. And it's it's been a good way for me to get business. I don't go out there and do it on purpose, so I never go out there and buy something that I don't want. But what I do is just what's a good way to put it? I take advantage of every single thing I can possibly take advantage of. So if I need to buy a rug, I will see if there's a way that I can make buying those rugs profitable. Where a normal person would go out, spend $15,000 on luxury Persian rugs, and that would just be a hole in their bank account. I go out, buy the rugs that I want, and then build the relationship, and then get them as a client, and then get them on a retainer that's $7,000 per month. Where a normal person needs a locksmith and sees it as a cost and a pain in the ass, I get a locksmith, get my locks fixed, build a relationship, and then get them as a client. My eyes are always open, always looking for opportunity, and I try and make the most out of every single situation, and that is what I recommend you guys do too. So that's it for this video on how to spot opportunity and how to always keep your eyes open. This isn't just about websites. This isn't just about retainers. I mean, this course is a system on how to get clients and how to actually make a lot of money doing it. But if you keep your eyes open, this is just the starting point for you. Like I said when I told my story at the beginning of this video, you've seen it work for me. I started buying and selling used cars, saw a tinting guy that needed a website, and look where the path has taken me from here. It's kind of unbelievable, really. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, Sam Evans here, and welcome to another video for week 6 called Solid Business Practices. So this might seem like kind of a weird one, but this stuff is so important. I've honestly seen so many guys that are amazing at sales, amazing at marketing, and amazing at everything in business, fail due to just poor business practices, poor just not looking after the basics. And these things are so important and so many people neglect them. So I really wanted to put a video in here just to give you some solid business practices around the basics. So one thing I like to talk about, one thing that you should always look to do inside your business is to McDonald's your processes. And what I mean by this is, creating a step-by-step process for every single thing in your business so that literally anyone can do it and follow the instructions. So to do this, what you have to do is do something yourself first. So you do something yourself first. That's what we're doing right now in the cash flow consulting program. And then when you find out what works, what I like to call the secret recipe, which is the strategies and tactics I've talked about in this course, plus some things you might add, some of your own unique twists to it, and you get something that really works. Once you have that, you want to systemize it down to the point that somebody else could do it. So do something yourself first, find out what works, create it, make it into a system, and then put it into a document, and then systemize it to the point that someone else can do it. And then once you've done that, hire somebody, train them well, and then manage them according to no more than 5 KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators. So, someone that does lumpy mail packages, they should be graded on, the quality of the package put together, and the number of packages put together per hour, and also the accuracy. So they might only have 3 KPIs. However, someone else, someone that's doing follow-up calls, they might have a few more KPIs. So things like dials per week, so how many times they dial per week, connections per week, conversations per week, bookings per week, etc. They might have 5 key numbers that are really important to them. Now, when you're managing multiple people, it's so important that you can just measure every different person in your business just on 5 numbers. So if I go and talk to one guy in my business, I know the 5 numbers, and I'm like this, and he tells me them, and I write them down, and I can see if we're on par. So you want to McDonald's your processes. You want to do something yourself first, find out what works, get the secret recipe, turn it into a system and a process, get somebody else to do it, come up with 5 KPIs that you can measure them on to make sure that they're doing their job properly, and then you can just sit back and watch someone else do it and keep them in line by just managing 5 numbers. And you never want to leave somebody alone for too long. Daily meetings work wonders. You want to check in daily ideally, and at the very least check in weekly. The next thing is keeping good books, and by this I mean like good accounting practices. So even the very best in business fail when they don't keep good books. I'm sure you've heard lots of stories. So first up, I recommend actually learning just the very basics of accounting. This is, this changes the way you think as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, and as a salesperson, just if you understand the basics of accounting. So there's this really good book over here called Accounting Made Simple, and it's 100 pages. And I really recommend that you buy this book from Amazon and read it and understand it, because it really, at the end of the day, businesses are graded and measured by accounting. They're the rules. And you might be really good at baseball, but if you don't know the rules, then you're going to get into trouble. You're not even going to be very good. So regardless of how good you are at marketing and sales, you still want to understand accounting. So many people miss this. I see so many gurus and stuff preaching about just become a marketing and sales beast, but there's actually a lot of money to be made just in understanding accounting. Because it can change the way you do a lot of your marketing and everything else. So I really recommend reading the book. And I recommend using an accounting system. It makes life really easy. Excel and paper-based stuff can really get out of hand. So I use Xero, xero.com. You can use whatever you like, but it's really good to use an online accounting system. And then you should have a company account and a personal account. You should separate the expenses. This way, when you buy something or pay a contractor or something on the business, you put it on the business, and then your own stuff you keep on another account. Income goes into one. It's just separate and it's easy to look after. And I recommend having an accountant check your statements and books once per month. So don't leave this to the end of the year. I recommend paying for it, every single month. Keep on top of all of this stuff, and keeping all your receipts. So I use Receipt Bank integrated with Xero. So receiptbank.com is a really awesome thing. So if a contractor sends me an invoice, I save it in Receipt Bank. That gets pushed into Xero. I've got a copy of it, and everything's nice and clean, and it's easy for the accountant. Another thing is you want to spend frugally and always watch your cash flows. So, in week 6, I've talked a lot about hiring a whole bunch of people. Well, you don't do any of this unless you've got enough money. So first you do everything yourself. Once you get up and, you've landed a few deals, you start to outsource some of the smaller roles like market intelligence and those other things. Once you're still healthily, making cash flow, covering that overhead, that's when you might want to look at, hiring some other people, putting more into marketing and whatnot. But always spend frugally and always watch your cash flows and watch your overhead. So contractors before employees. The way we build this business is very smart. The only time we pay for contractors is if we have already won someone as a client. That means that we don't spend money unless we've made proportionately more money, which means that our cash flow is always going to be healthy. So that's why I always say contractors before employees. So this is my second point, keeping good books, watching your statements. Now, this is a big one. Run the business by numbers. So we've talked a lot about our consulting business, and I've referred to it just as a machine or as a funnel. It's just a series of steps and processes tied together, and once you've done that, it's just about putting volume through it. And that's all it is. It can be measured and operated by numbers. It's nothing more than a machine that takes, $1 and, spits out 10. And to do that, it has to provide value to other people. That's just all businesses are. They're not these complicated, out of this world things. They're just a string of processes and different things put together that provides value and turns $1 into more for the person that created it as a reward. You've got to try and remove all the emotion away from your business. Stop getting all stressed out. Stop getting emotionally attached and clingy to particular clients or anything like that.
Your business is just a machine, and it can be run by numbers, and it should be treated without emotion. So what you want to do is you want to build your machine, like build your business, test it, and get it on par or above the benchmark figures. So I shared benchmark figures in either week 4A or week 4B. There was a video on benchmarks. So you want to build your consulting business up, get your funnel in place, and make sure you're on par with the benchmark figures. And then once you're on par with them, just focus on volume. Don't worry about making any crazy conversion rates. Just then the game becomes all about volume. And you want to measure all the numbers and conversion points through the funnel. Things like lumpy mail packages sent, consultations booked, proposals sent, and deals closed. Now, how easy it is to run your business like this, for example, is if you run 2 months in a row and you send 100 lumpy mail packages and you land 1 deal per month at $10,000. Well, you've pretty much worked out that 100 lumpy mail packages equals 1 deal, which equals 10 grand. So how do you double your growth? Well, you just double the lumpy mail packages sent. As simple as that. You don't need to look for ninja ways to do new marketing stunts or backflips or anything like that. It's just as simple as doubling volume. And I can't believe how many people make this more complicated than it needs to be. If you do something once and it works, why change it? I see people run like an amazing ad. They might run an amazing ad and it's worked wonders, and then they just leave it dead because they want to create something new. And it's stupid. When something works well, keep doing it. So if you send out a lumpy mail campaign and it's profitable, do exactly the same thing again. If it's still profitable, double it and keep doubling it until you get to the point where you start to see diminishing returns. And at that point that you see diminishing returns, that's probably when you've maxed out your marketing channel, and you should look at different channels. Simple as that. Now, this one seems stupid, but it's probably the biggest cause of failure I see in entrepreneurs. It's stop fluffing around. Honestly, most entrepreneurs I talk to, I mean, I've been in this game now for 3 or 4 years, and the people I met back in my first year, like that's 3 years ago, I talked to them and they're still doing the same thing today that they were doing 3 years ago. They're reading blogs, coming up with ideas, chasing the latest shiny object, and creating awesome, out of this world genius plans that never get actioned. You honestly want to get off this hamster wheel and make sure that all your time is spent doing high impact activities. People obsess with systems. They want to build this fancy system that's like MailChimp integrated with Infusionsoft, which integrates with Gmail, which sends this email, which triggers this, which puts a Facebook ad here, and it's all just hype and it's all just noise. Systems and automation and the latest software fad, things from AppSumo, all that crap. It's like a lot of it's good and it can be used, but I mean, those aren't things that make you rich. All that counts is marketing and sales. And in our case, the only things that actually have a direct influence on how much money we make is lumpy mail packages sent, follow-up calls made, consults booked, proposals sent, deals closed, and projects fulfilled. That's it. Everything else is noise. So you should look at these things every single day and go, how many items did I do within each category here? How many lumpy mail packages sent? How many follow-up calls made? How many consults booked? How many proposals sent? How many deals closed? And how many projects fulfilled? Everything else is just noise. It's just a waste of time and it's a waste of money, and it's a way to keep yourself feeling good and running on this useless hamster wheel that so many entrepreneurs are on. Honestly, get off it. The only thing that matters is marketing and sales, and in our particular case, these are the only thing that matter. Sending packages, following up, booking consults, doing proposals, closing deals, and getting them fulfilled. You can make a lot of money doing this. You can easily grow a business to $500,000 a year doing this stuff, and everything else is just noise. Now, final tip for good business practices is read this book. Simple as that. Read this book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish. This book is seriously badass. If there's anyone that's amazing in business, if you were to choose who's the best businessman of all time, it's John D. Rockefeller. He's a beast. He's out of this world. And if you want to learn how to run a business, go to him, and you will see that all of the things I teach closely align with what he does. He's the person I look to when it comes to running a business. And I recommend you do the same, and I recommend you acquire the habits of Rockefeller, because they really do work. I mean, the guy grew the biggest company of all time. The guy is a beast. So that's it for this video on mastering the business basics. I know it seems kind of weird. You'd expect some ninja sort of stuff in week 6 on how to scale, but honestly, in my 3 to 4 years that I've been doing this, it's never about the ninja stuff. It's always about the basics. It's just about building a machine, measuring it, making sure that you're on the benchmarks, and then just pumping volume through it, hiring people to do the roles, scaling up, pushing more volume through it, and just managing and charting your way with numbers. And that's as simple as it is. So that's it for this quick video. Thanks for watching.